And do you always worry about the slippery slope? You know, I always tell you that I'm less worried about the slippery slope than most people are. This is why. Because the slippery slope created this unintended consequence, which might be the greatest boon to homeschooling of all time. By the way, how many of you who don't do homeschooling think that homeschooling is one kid sitting at home with one of the parents who has to stay home? How many of you think that's what homeschooling is? Because I don't think many people actually even know what it is, right? Yeah, it's pods and top teachers in many cases, not all, of course. Here's what I think the world needs right now. And Corey, if you're listening to me, or anybody else, I was watching a tweet thread by Joshua Lysek, and he was talking about how apparently he must be homeschooling. That was what I got out of it. And I guess their class of homeschools, their pod or whatever, visits the workplace of the various parents of the different kids so they can see different jobs and, you know, how different businesses work and stuff. And I thought to myself, well, that's probably more valuable than just about every class that a kid in public school took today. Probably more valuable than every class they took, maybe, you know, except for reading and writing and stuff, you know, some basics. But if that's the sort of thing that you can do in a homeschool, homeschooling really needs some PR. I would love to see whatever's the smallest package to describe what homeschooling really looks like. Here's my bigger reason for that. I think homeschooling has to be the future. I mean, it almost has to be. But there'll be better versions of it, right? You know, homeschooling presumably has gone from crude to fairly sophisticated, I would assume, right? Somebody can confirm that. And I would imagine it started out maybe worse than public school on day one, on average, not for every person. But probably at this point, it has exceeded public schools in every level. Would that be true? Can somebody tell me if you have enough experience with that topic? Would you say that homeschools have already exceeded every level of social and educational safety, quality, like on everything? Is there anything that a homeschool doesn't do better and unambiguously better than a public school? Is there anything? Interactions with other kids. Okay, that's my next topic. I have a hypothesis that I want to run by the parents here. All right? So I'm only talking about people who are parents of kids right now. So if your kid grew up in an earlier time, you know, just watch the comments on this one. Those of you who currently have a kid who uses social media, so not the young ones, but they use social media, have you found that the obsession with social media has spilled over into the real world, where the only thing that a kid can talk about is how many friends they have and what happened with their friends and who's making fun of them? And there's actually nothing else that matters to them. And I think the social media did that, and Snapchat in particular. Snapchat makes you only think all day long about how many friends you have following you and what they're saying, mostly about you and about other people. Now, everything I know about brains and persuasion and hypnosis, etc., everything I know about that tells me this, and there's no argument on the thing I'm going to say. The thing you focus on the most is what's the most important to you, but not because that's not the reason you focused on it. Sometimes it is. Of course, you're going to focus more on important things, but social media is an addiction. So it forces you to focus on something that's not that important, but the focus makes it important. And the model of social media is friends, 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 friends. What are your friends saying about you? Friends, 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 friends. What are your friends saying about you? That's it. Complete obsession. And now here's my question for the current parents. Do you find that when they come home, all they can talk about is their real life friends, 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 and who's talking about them? Just watch the comments for a minute. I want to see if this is really something or just a weird idea I have. Yes, I'm addicted to social media. That is correct. Constantly on their phones is what's causing it. But do they also talk nonstop about their friends in the real world friends? So I'm seeing some yeses, but a lot of no's. Some yeses and some no's, okay? There are pressure them into the cult. Your kids aren't on social media. Interesting. Nope. Yes, real world. Okay, so I'm seeing more people who disagree with my hypothesis, or at least they don't observe it happening. But I think it is happening, because I think it can't not happen. It's just the way your brain is wired. Whatever you focus on just becomes the most important thing. There's no way around that. So I think that homeschooling is probably the only way you can get social media away from kids. And at this point, I think homeschooling is approaching a crisis requirement level. I mean, public school is, I think, at crisis level. The school shootings are the canary in the coal mine, but it's not just because there's some crazy people who have access to guns. It's that the public school is destroying children's lives, and some of them are, acting out on it.